for this project, we're going to take the image of this bottle and put it on this support. This is a piece of hardboard. I gessoed it on the back, gessoed it on the front. I took and I divided it into 1/3 here and 1/3 here. The reason why I did that, we're going to take this bottle and put the edge of it along the vertical line, and the neck of it will be in the top 1/3. And notice this is pretty close to the same size. I wanted to make it pretty much the same size as the bottle itself. I'll set that over to the side, and it'll be set up here all the time. Now what we're going to do different with this is it's not going to be just a regular painting. We're going to make this a relief painting. And in order to do that, I'm going to lay down and build up underneath with paper mache. I'll put it on there. I'll form it. I got lots of tools. You can buy these little clay forming tools and various other things to shape this thing up. A lot of sanding here. Once I get it on there, I'll probably use some modeling paste over the top of that. You have both light and heavy. And a lot of gesso. I'll be putting a lot of gesso on that. And basically what that does, it glues it to the gesso here. When you gesso something with acrylic gesso, you're really just putting down a layer of plastic. You put plastic on top of plastic. Do a lot of sanding. It's a lot of work. The subject is simple. The processes are really not that difficult. It's just a lot of work. I'm also going to use a lot of medium. I'm going to use gloss medium, matte medium, a little bit of glazing medium. My palette is going to be very limited. Cobalt blue, the whites, titanium, which is opaque, zinc, which is transparent, and I'm going to use a dark blue for the darks, turquoise blue, dark. And I don't think I'll be using a lot of black, but I have taken it out just in case I need it. And this is ivory black, and also the same as bone black. I'll probably be very stingy in using this, and I don't know if I'll ever use it. But basically my colors will be cobalt blue, this turquoise deep, and the whites. And with that, I'll go ahead and get started, and we'll follow this along. Here's what I've done so far. A little recap. Put the edge of the bottle, brought it in a third, that's where it's at. This is in the top third of this support. I came in with paper mache, formed the bottle in, and put some of the background in to bring it out here. The paper mache that I used is this. It's almost a powder. You can see it. It's basically powder. You just mix it with water, and it adheres well to a previously gessoed surface. Since it is paper, it's probably very acidic. Well, it is very acidic, and I gessoed over it. A gesso underneath, gesso over it, and now I have to start back, and I'm going to have to sand this a lot. It was difficult to get a very smooth surface with that paper mache, and there's a lot of imperfections in the bottle itself. I'll come in, sand this some more, then I'll use one of the modeling pastes for acrylics. They have a light one, which I'll probably use that, and they have a regular one, which is pretty heavy. It's like it's got marble or some kind of stone base in it. and it gets very hard. I've used it before. It's a little bit easier to work with. After I sanded it, I'll go in and fill out all the low spots with one of these modeling pastes, and then I'll gesso it again. And I'll sand it again. And I'll gesso it again. And we're going to keep doing that until the surface is perfectly smooth. I don't use a machine. It's all done by hand. But one other thing about this. Put your paper mache on in layers. Don't put a big gob on there. You put a layer on and let it dry. Put another layer on. Let it dry. Not drying fast enough for you? Put it in the oven about 170 degrees. Let it sit there and it'll dry. Put a big gob on there. It's going to warp your support. That's just the way it is. It's wet inside, and the physics of it is such is that as it dries outside, it'll start bending this thing up. Don't do that. Put a layer on, let it dry, put another layer on. Throw it in the oven, 170 degrees, 200 degrees, no more than that, to set the thing on fire. Well, I'm going to start sanding now. Probably going to be a while because there's a lot of sanding to do on this thing. So I'm tired of sanding on this thing now, but I want to show you what I've done. I put a lot of coats of gesso and a lot of the sculpture medium on this. I've sanded it down as much as I'm going to sand it. I do it by hand, which makes a long and difficult process. I guess you could do it by with a machine if you wanted to. But what I'm going to do now, and let me show you what it looks like. This is a side view. I built it up so the background comes out, and that of course we have the bottle here, so it looks like it's setting on something. I'm going to fill in the back here, the background, with a matte white. I'm going to use titanium white mixed with a matte medium, and I may come in with a matte varnish and put it on top of it. And then after I do that, I'll paint the shadow coming out, and I won't varnish it or anything because of the finish on acrylics itself. It's more of an eggshell. For this, I'm going to use a lot of glazing and a lot of gloss on this, and I'm going to build it up a little at a time. Remember now what I said my palette's going to be, which is pretty simple. Oh, this will be what is commonly called local color. I'm not going to do black and white on any of this, or sepia, or any underpainting other than the underpainting and local color. So we'll see how that comes out. Let me again go over what I'm going to use. I'm going to use ivory black, sometimes called bone black. Maybe a little bit of zinc white, which is transparent. I'm going to use cobalt blue. That's my basic color. That's the primary color I'm going to use. Titanium white, the opaque white, I'll use that primarily for highlights and things like that. Deep turquoise. That'll probably be my darkest color. And I've already shown you ivory. I'll use a glazing medium, matte varnish, a gloss, medium and varnish. It's all combined into one. That's nice, it works well. And a matte medium. I'll probably put this down first and mix it with my titanium white when I do most of my background. And I'll probably go over it with the matte varnish. Not real sure about that yet, but I'll see how it works out. Okay. Next time I talk to you, I'll probably have laid down most of my local color and gotten the shadow in and my first layers of color and stuff. we'll talk to you then. Well, I've just about finished putting all the paint that I'm going to put on this model here. It was surprisingly difficult because of the shape of this thing, and then putting the paint the way I wanted it. Now, the only thing I have left here is a little bit of detail work that I'll probably do around the edges. Now, typically I work from the back to the front, but in this case, because this is raised, as you can see, it's a relief painting, and I raised some of the background too. I'm going to finish this off, maybe, you know, with a little bit of touch up, and then sand this some more. I've sanded it quite a bit. It's really smooth. What's difficult about this is that it picks up other colors very, and you have to be real careful when you're sanding, because you sand here and it'll run into this. But this is working out well here. Just a lot of sanding. Now, I'm going to sand this off next, and then I'm going to go back in. I'm going to put gloss on this thing and make it very, very glossy. And then I'm going to finish up the shadow coming off here to the right. Okay, I guess I'll get back to work now. I finally finished the blue bottle. Pretty simple looking, isn't it? A lot of work, a lot of work. Look, you can see how this is raised here, how I raised the background over here, and I've already told you the composition on this. Now, why do I do this? I like to call it touchable art. If you run your hands across this, you can feel the difference. Even the shadow here. I didn't sand this. This is just acrylic paint here. The rest of this I've sanded out smooth, and it is touchable. I think people should be able to touch art. I have friends who are artists who went blind, and I talked to them about making art like this. Blind people can make art like this. They don't need, you know, to visually see it. They can see it with their mind. Now, there are some things I would have done differently with this. This was difficult. The paper mache and the other stuff underneath there took a long time to dry. It had a tendency to crack. I would have made a dip here. And I probably would have sanded this more as I was putting the gloss paint on it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and photograph this and send it out to enter it into contests. I don't think it'll win anything. It's difficult to present this kind of painting, but I'm finished with it now, and I thought I'd show it to you. If you decide to do this, it's going to be a lot of work. Going to do a lot of sanding, a lot of painting, and it's a difficult technique. You can do it. I ask my friends who can do it to do this. Those who are visually impaired, and it works well. Happy painting.